What's up, everybody? This is Day One, $0, Episode 1. That intro was cool. I like it.
And that's good. You like that?
That's
shit?
part of what we're figuring out. The intro and what we're gonna say. Right? Are we the motherfucking CEO?
No.
Or are we just us? And it's Day One, $0, Episode 1, Episode 2. But biggest thing I think that we should say from the get-go for anybody that's listening, visual live streaming and visual will be up probably next week. But we want to get some things out and do some audio and have some fun with it and market what we're doing. So it's yours truly, Will Grimes. You guys have heard my loud mouth for a long time, and he's not gonna say it, but it's Eli Schmidt here. You gotta do it, man.
Eli Schmidt here.
Fat. He's been Eli Schmidt here for a long time.
That's right. Thinking about actually changing my last name to Schmidt here.
I like it. And what I don't like is prior to us being recording, you were like, no, like you weren't gonna do it. That's bullshit.
I couldn't help it.
So Eli, Day One, $0, man. People have heard my shit for a little while, and coming from like my background and whatnot. But let's start with you for a change, man. As far as first and foremost, like why we're doing this, what we already have established as far as what we do in real estate and all that cool bullshit. But why we chose to do a podcast, what we're expecting to get from it, and why we're calling it Day One, $0. I'll take the credit for the name.
Oh,
before,
hell yeah, hell yeah.
Before, but I think we both have an interesting twist on it.
That's what I like about it most, dude. Is like with that name, everyone that I've talked to, they kind of give you their interpretation of it, and you can tell that it hits people at a certain level. But everyone kind of interprets it in their own way. For me, it's like it's a mentality that you should maintain every day, regardless of where you're at in your career, where you treat every day like it's your day one, $0. A, staying humble, but then B, making sure that you maintain that level of just drive and that excitement day to day that you have on day one, $0.
Humble is such a good word, man, and I think it's misconstrued, right? Because for a lot of stuff that we did in the military, in the Marine Corps. And just things that we did as police officers, man, and having a certain level of competence, confidence, and slight chip on your shoulder that you can get the job done under stressful situations. Some people take that out of context, and that's like, oh, that's cocky. And I don't think it is, man. So I do like the word humble. Like when I first got into the real estate game, I shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Not that this is this is a real estate podcast. It's definitely not, right? But we'll probably talk about it and compare some things to it. But when I first started that game, man, I shut up, and I felt like that was my humble start per se, or being a new sergeant, or new to special operations commander, new to wherever I was at. The one benefit to the Marine Corps is, dude, you were always new at something as you promoted. You kind of had to start over, going to squad leaders course and different things, and I think you learn that. But I think people take that way too far, and when you've got guys that are confident, right, like, oh well, hey man, be humble. And like, nah, dude. Think about it like that in sports too, man. Like when guys want the ball at the end of the game.
Dude, that aggression wins, man.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And you got to shoulder the loss. We've talked about that before about, hey, if you're taking that shot at the end of the game, you got to shoulder that loss.
Right.
It's not just about like, oh yeah, I'm confident and I can take that pressure and like, cool, man, but if you miss, can you shoulder that for the team and for yourself? And like a Peyton Manning throwing 4 interceptions as a Bronco. Definitely not who he was with the Colts when he first started. So I like your twist on this, man, because it's like, hey, every day I'm living like it's my day one. It's my $0.
And what I like too is that when it comes to like learning, like when you're brand new at a job day one, you listen to everybody about everything that they have to say. And that's another thing too that I think is important is like, even if you
say it again, I wasn't listening.
Even if you, so prime example, like let's say, and you from me says before, when you're at the gym lifting and some fucking dude is telling you about some new technique that he learned or some new diet thing or some new supplement, regardless of how he actually looks, I'm still going to listen to him. If I know it's bullshit, everything is bullshit, I'm not going to do anything, I'll listen to him. Cool. That's bullshit. Go on about my day. But he may fucking have read something that I haven't read or watched something I haven't watched. And if I'm too cocky to listen to him, I'm not going to get that little piece of information.
It's so funny that you picked that analogy because you have a way better one.
What?
Me, motherfucker.
About what?
Hey, this guy hits me up. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Fat knows me from fitness and from Pyre. And hey, listen, Fat, say what's up.
What's up, y'all?
Fat, I'm the motherfucker. That's cool, right? Eli didn't, so I hit Eli up prior to even being licensed.
Wait, the motherfucker or a motherfucker?
I'm a bad motherfucker.
So the motherfucker.
Not the, man. There's a lot of these.
A motherfucker is different than the motherfucker.
Oh, no, it's not that. But I'm also not the. I'm just a bad motherfucker in my eyes.
There we go. We'll roll with that.
I'll take that.
Bad,
but I'm not
bad
the.
motherfucker somewhere in the middle.
There's a lot of bad dudes I've been around, man. I'm definitely not the. But how you and I met, I wasn't even licensed in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, I hit you up. I was like, hey, man, I'm thinking about this, and I've got a couple of questions and would love to just run some things by you and kind of get your perspective on stuff. And now that I've been in, dude, I hear that a lot from people. Yeah. So I'm sure that you heard a lot. And, dude, what made me any different than any other fuckhead, right? For lack of a better term, but you gave me your time.
I'll tell you what, though. Because we had been friends on Facebook for a while, and I'd seen your fucking videos. I'd seen your content. I knew what you did with the supplement store.
He's a fucking sleeper fat.
Yeah, dude, I knew all that shit.
Oh, shit.
Like, not that I wouldn't have met up with you
anyway.
Well,
now it changes my whole relationship
Not that I wouldn't have met up with you anyway, but...
I thought you were a good dude meeting me. Yeah. Fuck, nah, you had a motive.
Just being honest, yeah.
No, I like it, man. But at the same time, just, like, for example, you brought up a great comparison when you're like, hey, man, alpha males don't necessarily do great in real estate because they've been great at everything that they've ever done. Mm-hmm. And the second they get to real estate and they don't do a deal for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, even though that's normal sometimes, if they don't know how to adjust and take that failure, they run, right? So for me, like, maybe I was successful in law enforcement or military or health and fitness. A lot of that kind of coincides together. And I didn't really figure out how much real estate picks up into prior careers for me until I dove into it. But, I might have flopped.
Well, here's the difference with you too. Like, you had been bad at some things and learned how to get good. Like, I think a lot of your typical alpha bro type of males who aren't actually alpha at all, but we'll call them alpha in this situation. A lot of your normal alpha males have only actually done and stuck with things that they were already good at.
True.
You know what I mean?
Good point. But I do. So getting back to the point though, right? Like, you still gave me your time, even though I hadn't done anything. And then, I got my license and ventured out and did a couple things.
That itself was fucking shocking. Not because it's you, but like, so many people talk to you. Oh, I want to get licensed. And then 3 months later,
we have a couple friends like that, don't
you're
we?
At closings. Yeah,
we do.
Right.
We have a couple friends like that. Fat. Hey, man, got a great idea. Think we should partner up? Hey, bro, get a fucking license. But saying back to the point and kind of giving the introduction to this podcast and why we're doing it all, because I know we're very real estate heavy right now while we're talking. That's not going to be the course of this entire podcast, moving forward through the different episodes. But it's important. So for you, it's, living every day like it's day one is $0 and being humble, but going after it. And
fucking driving every day, always reinventing. What are we doing now? Could it be better? Can we improve on this? Just, I always like changing, man. As soon as I feel like things are stagnant or like, okay, we're good here, I start freaking out.
So here's why I like that, because it's like a continuation of my thoughts. So mine was, and we make Marine Corps jokes all the time, right? We eat crayons and we're dummies and shit, right? Mine, so yours is very like thought out. Not necessarily like super deep, but like, hey, man, it's ideological. Mine was literal. This is day one, fucking $0, right? So when I was leaving the fitness world, man, and I was starting over, I wanted to show people like, hey, like, I've been successful at this, within the Marine Corps, and I've been successful in law enforcement and some other, endeavors I did after that, and I've been successful with health and fitness, and I'm gonna leave where I'm at, and on good terms, but I feel like it's time to grow my own thing and attack it, but I'm starting very, 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 very bottom. So it was literal. I did not have my own Instagram. Had a Facebook, did not have my own Instagram. I was actually helping out with the fitness company's Instagram where I was at. And so when I decided to leave, I'm like, I want to keep myself accountable. I want to make sure that I stay on track and I don't succumb to certain things. And so for me, I made this, my Instagram, and, my first or second video in it was like, hey guys, so this is my day one, $0 of my new endeavor. Very literal. So it was literally my day one of, I just left this company. I've never had my own Instagram. What better way to start an Instagram than to just start documenting and showing people how it works, right? So, and ironically, hashtag day one $0 had not been used. So I thought that was cool, right? So to your ideological marijuana thinking shit, we'll get into that later on. I was like, hey, it's kind of a sign, So, so I like that. And then, ever since then, I've been documenting what I'm doing, not trying to be fancy, not trying to tell people that I know it all. I know what I know.
But speaking on what you do know.
That's it, man. I don't know what I don't know, but I know what works for me, and I want to document that, because I don't want to come off like, hey, my way is the way. I think it's a way. And I think if you're similar to us, I think it works. So when we mended that, I think it was great, because it's like, hey, mine was literal, But then, yours is more of like the continuation of like, hey, cool, literal day $1.00 and how it's done. And then yours is literal as an, all right, cool, Will. So as you venture past your literal day $1.00 and you're becoming like a big timer in your own fucking brain, right? Like what's keeping you grounded? What's keeping you humble? So it's just a good contrast.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a great contrast on the two perspectives. So for me, I don't think I'm fancy. I don't think that I do anything in particularly special, except for like coming from the Marine Corps background, especially an infantry background. Mm-hmm. That's the backbone of the Marine Corps, man. It doesn't matter. Like when I was attached to Special Operations Command and other bullshit, man, like you're in support of the main effort, right? And what you learn in the infantry is how to fucking work super hard. You sleep very little. You work hard. It's not, it's like what's that Disney movie, man, where you're like, a pirate's life for me, kind of. Yeah. Like there's pride in the suck of being an infantryman and digging fucking holes and training and, guys, the camaraderie and the support for one another and just that grit, man.
Dude, that's entrepreneurship at its finest, man.
Listen, man, that's my other point I want to get. So I'm glad you said that, right? Because I was talking to some Marine friends, and I'm like, and they're entrepreneurs. They own Bastards Canteen out in California. They're kicking ass, man, throwing great events for Marines and veterans overall. And we were talking one day on the phone, just cussing, dude, and laughing our asses off. Because I'm like, hey, bro, fucking Marines, like we're entrepreneurs from the bone, okay? Like not only are we fucking undermanned and under-supported with equipment that we get, right? Also underpaid, I guess you could say in some perspectives, but we don't give a fuck about that. We get to train to, to operate and be operator as fuck. That's a term that we have. Be fucking cowboys and go out and do your work, but we're definitely undermanned. We always have the oldest weapons, dude. You never have all the fancy shit, but their expectations are always super high, right? And then back in 1775, okay, like guys who didn't like how the military was going, they met in a fucking bar. Okay, like that's how the Marine Corps was started. I don't know if you know that or not.
No.
Yeah, man, Ton Tavern. Okay, so Cliff Notes, Fat. I don't know if you know this.
What tavern? Man. Say that again.
Ton Tavern, man.
Ton?
So yeah, back 1775, my Marine Corps came alive, man. Right, Marine Corps hem. So listen, dude, Ton Tavern, right? Cliff Notes, bunch of badass dudes, okay, that don't like how the military is going, think they can do it better,
right?
Create their own shit. They met in a bar,
and
decided to create what's now called the Marine Corps. So kind of like, kind of very entrepreneurial. Like they just didn't like how things were going, and they felt they could do it better, so they did it better. And we've done it better with. Excuse my chair scooting on you, bro. We're still getting used to this setup, but they've done better, man. Obviously I'm partial to that, but there's some entrepreneurial things for me. But for me, biggest thing, man, is I know we're local in Denver, and this goes beyond Denver. There's a great growing market here with tech, marijuana, real estate. There's a ton of cool shit that's going on here. But my biggest thing was like, look, man. I was a terrible swimmer prior to boot camp, right? Super scared of the water, almost drowned twice. I had never shot a rifle till boot camp, dude. My mom was super hippie. Okay, my mom didn't let me play with squirt guns. Fat, don't laugh. My fucking mom got mad at the teacher in 5th grade when we had indoor recess and they played Lion King.
Dude, our moms are a lot more similar than you may know.
Dude, she said it was, hey, that's premeditated murder. Why are you showing my kid that? And she was right, but goddamn, right? Like that's super embarrassing.
Dude, I couldn't watch Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Dude, I got called Devin Sawa. I had the fucking hair part in the middle.
Dude, who the fuck is that?
He's the kid from Casper. He's the ghost.
Oh, that.
Dude, he's in the fucking pirate suit. And like he comes floating down and kisses the chick. I got called that kid because I was white with a big nose.
I couldn't watch that.
It got me some kisses in 5th grade, but I had to part down the middle. Could you imagine?
Fat, you got to pull up Devin Sawa.
Yeah, dude. Look him up. It's hilarious. I'll show you my 5th grade picture. I had the blonde hair. And I had the part in the middle of my head. If you could watch right now, I'm parting the Red Sea. I'm parting the blonde sea of my fucking head. So imagine like this is like when you're figuring out girls, okay? And they're kind of interesting and they're kind of liking you. They watch you play basketball and you're playing tag and shit, right? And then my mom is coming in, telling the teacher, yeah, bro, that was me. And that was me in 5th grade. So a little embarrassing, but here's my deal. Getting back to that point, right? Of shut the fuck up, Pat. I like how he's in the background just laughing at us. So just, I had to overcome some stuff, man. Being a bad swimmer, never, shooting a rifle till boot camp and some things like that. So what I learned was, how to conquer some fear at a basic level. Like this is prior to being attached to SOCOM. This is prior to things like that, man. This is basic shit of just getting comfortable in the water. And then secondly, man, it also taught me on how hard you can work at something before you give up.
Dude, and doing the best
Right?
you can with what you've got.
Well, doing the best you can with what you got, but like before you say this is the best I am or this is the best I got, how hard
Right.
have you fucking tried?
Right.
Right,
But,
so the
but in the
biggest-
moment, like with everything that I have now,
Yeah.
are we doing everything that we can? And
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
And then how long are you trying before you give up or say, oh, this is me, I'm just not a swimmer? Or like when people, dude, in fitness, dude, I'm just big boned, I'm Samoan.
Right.
Like, all right, maybe. Samoan's a hard one, right?
No shit.
Some strong motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily ab dominant.
Right.
Like they're even The Rock, man, he's
Yeah.
shredded. He's not
Yeah.
ab dominant,
Yep.
right? And he's one of the leaner ones. But you know, for lack of a better comparison there, how hard are you trying, you know, before you give up or before you put yourself into this box? So just coming from some grit, man, and walking amongst some badass fucking operators, man, and working hard, I learned, you know, one, how to conquer fear and how to just I'm terrified of heights. But jumping out of planes or jumping out of helicopters or rappelling, man, like you got to have to. But it's liberating. Like the first time I'm rappelling, I remember that shit, man. And it's liberating, like, oh, I can do this. And you realize, hey, you know what, man? A healthy dose of fear actually keeps you safe.
Dude, yeah.
Because you're not up in that helicopter fucking around,
Right.
missing one of your knots, doing it backwards, and you kill yourself because you're almost too complacent because you're not afraid. So some of that fear was healthy for me. Kept me on point, and it also let me know like how to control my emotions, right? Like what am I allowing to consume me or overcome me to block my future? So like, is this my box? Is this just what I am? Or I'm trying as hard as I can? Or am I allowing something to maybe like consume me and not push forward? So coming from,
I think like you were feeling the emotion, but didn't let it determine your actions.
and I didn't have a choice, bro.
Yeah,
It's called
right,
the goddamn,
right.
It's called the
That's
goddamn
true.
Marine Corps.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can get your monkey ass and have butt, right? Like, you know, so, but it did, man. So just that infantry background, and then, you know, the other special cool shit came on later on, and being an instructor, man, and having the pleasure to work around some amazing guys.
Right.
That all came after conquering some basic things for myself, but I've bled that into my Marine Corps career. I bled that into some, you know, some government stuff that I did after that. I blended that into police work and coming back to Aurora and giving back to my community, man. There's a lot of, you know, like when I was a police officer, man, this is recent. You know, I think I was a police officer 3-4 years ago. And I was there for 5 years, and coming back to my hometown, there's a lot of, you know, just controversial shit. Obviously Aurora didn't have as many problems as St. Louis and some other places, but a lot of stuff. So you had to day in and day out convince people on an individual level. You couldn't really scale
Well, it's
your
not even
experience.
Aurora. People see some shit on CNN from Philadelphia, and that's coming back to you when you're knocking on their door.
But you have to go in day in and day out and just try to do the best that you can, man, and don't get walked on.
Yeah.
But if you can be good to society and to the community, give back and just change minds. And so long story long, for me with all of this stuff, man, and leaving that fitness company, now you and I branched into a real estate endeavor, and it was a day $1 right? Like, but we've hit, you know, number one in Colorado for most units sold fourth quarter, you know, top 1% of production for nationwide or worldwide for Berkshire Hathaway. Like, we're conquering some cool shit,
And
it's
constantly adding more.
yeah. So we've already climbed, you know, the stat board since then, and we've doubled the size of our team, but we're giving back. We're super involved in everything that we're doing, and we're doing it our way that you know that we know that works, and it's catching on, man. And we're dedicated. We actually go out with our team and support them, just like leaders do in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
Leaders in the Marine Corps, man, they lead from the front. Your squad leaders are not back on some hill on fucking horseback. You smoking weed over there, Fat?
Yeah, shut the hell up, fat.
Maybe. Yeah, he is. Well, we pay this guy. Yeah, Eli, he's fucking smoking too. We got some shit going. But leaders in the Marine Corps, man, you're not back on some hilltop like colonial days and watching your army to the death, right? Like, you're out in the front, leading from the front, right? And so I think that's something that I carry into this, and I think that just diving into, you know, to the relationships and understanding what makes people tick, it's making us grow. So long story long on this day $1 short podcast is like, hey man, I don't think I'm special. I think that I work super hard. I think that I'm confident in myself. I think that I've come to a place at 34 where I respect opinions of people that I respect, you know, but I definitely know how to like quiet the noise, man, and just stay focused and understand my tuition and my gut instincts and fucking get after it, man. And just for myself, right? Like, we did, you know, 0 to 200,000 in 1 year and 28 deals, or, you know, whatever it was, man. But what was more important than that was within our first year, we hit a top 1% nationwide production for a team. So beyond an individual award, it was a team stuff that I like, because that's where in my history with Marines, you're validated. It doesn't matter how great of a gunfighter you are. Like, that's cool, man. But if you're pinned down, how well can your squad operate? And what people start to realize with the infantry is, dude, your highest speed is fuck, right? Like, high speed is being brilliant at the basics, man. Like, it's super hard under that type of stress for Marines that are out there doing it, man, to operate cohesively and to win battles. And I take that same work ethic to this. So, again, long story long to this whole podcast fucking thing, right? Was, look, man, it's about our day $1 as in starting point, and it's about how we continue to grind day in and day out, and then just talk about topics, man, of leadership, or just having conversations and discussing trials and tribulations on a long platform where we can really explain stuff and dive into it, and then also having guests, right? And every once in a while when we have guests on, it's great context, right? Like, hey, what was your day $1, right? Like, for example, like whoever, man, Michael Jordan, right? That's a name. Yeah, I got him on my speed dial. Mike, what's up, right? Jumpman, what's up, dude? What was your day $1? He's probably going to say something like getting cut from the high school basketball team. Right. Cool, but then he's going to go through that. But through, storytelling his day $1 to now, there's going to come up some funny fucking stories.
There is.
And some really cool shit. And I think that's the meat and potatoes to people. It's not like making your calls and this and that. Like, it is. Don't get me wrong, but
dude, it's what the stories really defines, in between, man.
Yeah, what really defines a person and what really defines a passion for us to keep doing it, man, and cowboying up every day is the stories that we get to hear from people. And I think it's fun, again, Denver being local, but, if this reaches out more national or worldwide, or who fucking knows where you little potheads are going to get we're going to fuck around and be worldwide because Fat and you little potheads.
I like how Fat doesn't even smoke weed, but he always gets, like,
he smokes that shit.
Looped in with the stoners.
He's over there smoking Adderall on a spoon. Dude.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think it's super intriguing to get to know people better. So I do think there needs to be some structure of topic discussions, and how we, and if people have questions, we can answer them as we rate. As people have questions, we can answer them for them. I don't think we're that big of a deal yet, but going over what's working and not working for us, long platform, but then also just diving into people in a very personal level and hearing their story. But again, man, within their story, like, for example, I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he had Miss Pat on. You listen to that one?
Yeah, fucking hilarious.
Right? So she's been shot amazing. Twice from her fucking boyfriend and
titty shot, head shot.
Dude, all kinds of stuff. Right. But as she was telling that story from then and now, like her, adopting all these kids, all these crack baby kids, quoting her, right? All these crack baby kids from her crackhead family, and then her own kids. The stories that were blooming from that. Joe Rogan's not always like that, right? Like, he's got scientists on and some cool stuff, and I fucking think his podcast is phenomenal. So Joe Rogan, if you're out there, this is our podcast one, but what's up, dude? Well, dude, give a brother a holler.
And that's the shit. Not to be super fucking cliche, but when we're 80 years old and we're looking back on our life, we're not going to give a shit about top 1%. We're not going to give a shit about most units sold. Yeah. It's going to be the little stories and interactions that we have with our individual agents, with each other, with our families. It's not going to matter what.
And I'm sure we'll have some folks on that go straight topic, subject matter expert on something, and it's interesting. That's cool. Right. But I think what's more cool and where we're more guided is a little bit of a hybrid and wanting to know people's story and know deeper. So for those of you that are still listening, if we're 30 minutes into this thing already, long story long, we don't think we're special. We don't think that there's anything different. I think our biggest thing is that we want to bring as many people along with us as possible. So whether that's real estate, multi-level marketing, running a real business, like I say that. No disrespect to multi-levelers, but anybody, man, soccer moms that want to sell baby clothes out of their house and they make some cool shit. Whatever it is, you and I have families and we have risk, and we're average dudes, man, that are just trying to get by doing the best that we can, right? Right. You're shredded. I'm trying to get there. Like, I've done some shit, but had to overcome some fear to get there. Yeah. You were like never super athletic, so always had to work hard at everything you did, which made you better. I think a lot of people can relate to us, man, and I think the word special or guys that are badass, I think maybe we're not, though.
Dude, here's why podcasts are taking off the way they're taking off, and here's why I love them. Because, like, the internet has individualized us a lot, like it's segregated us quite a bit, but it's also connected everybody. So let's say you previously were like segregated because you were some nerd and you like some weird fucking video game that no one else in your school liked. Now you can go and connect with millions of other of those same kids just like you.
Started playing video games in their fucking sports bra.
You can go and connect
now
with
gaming is awesome.
You can go and connect. Yeah, agree. Right. But you can go and connect with other people just like you.
Yep.
But what this is eventually allowing us to do, and this is what podcasts are allowing people to do, is take people back to kind of the tribal sort of atmosphere of storytelling, dude. You don't have to be a special person. You sit around the fucking campfire and you're sharing your stories that your ancestors passed along to you.
I think instead of guys being badass or guys being special, don't get me wrong, man. There's rare breeds out there that even I admire. But Excuse me. But, with that being said, I think a lot of it too, man, is that there's just so many blockers in life that I think it's a mix between, there's some guys out there, some girls out there that are badass. But then there's also this piece where people just aren't trying hard enough, or they've got some fear in front of them. So, even just us, man, at our first podcast, our first episode of just being able to tell people like, hey, like, don't succumb to certain fears.
Right.
Get out there and do it. Like, look, you got to fucking work at it. You got to have a plan. And, like when I was first starting, man, I was 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's fucking literal. We were pregnant with my son at the time, and it was like, it was go time, man. I was making no money, and of all times to have a baby, you're like, oh shit, but you better, grind. You know what I mean? And for me, man, I slept in a basement, and if you're still listening to this, I'm sure we'll get to this story a lot, but, my family lived with her parents. Kiddo was with her parents, and my significant, she was pregnant at the time, and, I slept in my buddy's overgrown closet in the basement, and then, excuse me, no, that's not true. She was not pregnant at the time. But long story short, I stayed there, and then, she could afford a condo for us, and I had no money to put toward it. And she's like, hey, you need a place to focus and this and that. And, long story short, I finished up my studying and passed my tests, and I left the house every day and almost felt guilty to even be there because I wasn't paying for it. And so I went to the gym super early and got my mind right at 7 a.m. And then I was doing happy hours and meeting people. And, if I'd come home, I was working on social media and doing other stuff till 11 p.m. So, just going from humble beginnings, man, of starting over. And I think maybe we'll just talk about this story when on a podcast, because it's more specific.
Right,
I think today is more about just saying why we're doing it. But, long story short, I knew how to put myself into some unpleasant places, some dark places, because I'd been there before, and how to get out of there. But you do gotta work. So I think a lot of people, man, they've got speed bumps, or they've got some inhibitions to themselves where they're not, man, like that whole quiet desperation. Most men live their lives in quiet desperation.
Here's why I think that is, dude. Like you and I have both been.
Whose fucking phone is going on? Is that you?
Mine's on a seat here.
That's fucking fat.
Nope, that's not me. That's
It's
you.
I'll go
It
airplane
ain't
mode.
you,
All right, I'm going airplane mode. Sorry, I'm kind of important. Just kidding. Not important at all.
You're Jewish.
They're
You're
like-
not important.
I think it's like my bank account is overdrafting, and so I'm getting all these notifications. My shit's overdrafting. Just kidding.
Day $1
You see if
zero.
I know
Yeah.
we're still there.
That's right, literally.
You can
But
sleep in
no,
the basement. I got this bad.
but dude, most people are not around people like you. They're not around other good leaders. They go to their 9 to 5, dude, and they're just not around other people that are going to inspire and show them, hey, you can do more. Like there are other people out there who have way less than you, who are doing way more than you, and most people just don't have that. So I think a lot of it isn't just that they're not trying hard enough, but they just don't fucking see it, which is again why this podcast is so important, dude.
Well, and it's why getting around people, successful people, or people
Yeah.
that you can thrive on. Because here's the deal, man. Like when I first started real estate, I was not a fucking leader, man. I was taking care of myself. But I also understood that demographic, man. I understood the whole airplane concept of donning and clearing my own mask before I go help a child. Like I got no, regardless of what I had been successful at prior to real estate, man, I had no business opening my fucking mouth, period, right? Like I gotta learn and figure out, who's will, at
But you were still
33,
sharing your
30
story. You're not telling them how to do real estate, but you're
No, but
sharing
I was
your
documenting.
story.
Well, I was documenting what I was
That
doing.
motivates the fuck out of people. dude.
True. But I also, I just had to take care of myself. So for me, if leadership comes natural, and that's a whole nother topic, right? Is leadership natural or not? But
Same with entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Is it in your DNA or is it learned?
yeah, but for me, it was like I knew, and this is something that we tell our team a lot is, hey, when you're starting something new and everything is just so strange and secondary to you, cool, but try to figure out what you've done in life and what you've been good at. Like we've got a couple ladies on the team that are phenomenal moms. We've dove into that. Like, hey, listen, do you know how hard it is to be a good mom? Not a mom. Be a good mom. Being a good mom is hard.
Hardest fucking job.
I can't do it, right? Like, but then taking the quality, the care, the nurturing, the consistency, the patience, the monitoring, just taking some qualities from what you've been good at before and applying it to what you're doing now. That's what you got to do. Is it's not, hey, there's will and then there's real estate. It's will and then who am I within real estate? I gotta be me, right? Like I can't be some other dude or doing someone else's business model or making someone else's phone calls or listening to what worked for them. Because at the end of the day, man, that's them. And it's not that doesn't work, but that's you. And there's context behind that, right? Like, for example, if I go to a buyer or a listing presentation, there's going to be some things, man, that I say that work for me because of my command presence.
Right.
And then there's going to be someone else, man, that walks in and says the same thing and it goes completely different. So that's exactly why you got to just triple down on what you're good at, and I don't mean like a Gary Vee style. Like he says it very broad. I mean like really, especially when you're new, find out what you've been good at in life. Find out what your qualities are and really apply that and say, hey, I've got to create myself in this industry. I can't be someone else. And I think in real estate, dude, you got people that have been around 30 years that are on their way out and they don't have much social media expertise. And you got people that have been in for a little while, and all of these like new people that want to try hard or work hard, they're listening to these old timers who aren't necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily the right answers for all these new folks that are coming into a new wave, man. It's modern, right? Like, look at us, dude. We're fit, we're tattooed, we do shit off of social media. I don't door knock. So there's just a different wave. But when we're new to an industry, we just listen to people that have been around for years, and time isn't necessarily justice, right? Like,
Right.
So it's just having enough grit within yourself, and it's not cockiness, but just understanding like, hey, I got to figure this out for myself. I got to figure out, like, apply fundamentals, know the fucking law, shit like that. But then how do I engage with people, man? Where do I meet people? Where do I engage with people? Where am I having conversations? And then how do I really triple down on that to create a book of business for myself differently, but more productive than how somebody else would be doing it?
And here's like, what would you say to somebody who hasn't taken the time to figure out who they are?
Man, dude, so I like that because so from the Marine Corps background, right? One thing I love, man, was like we were family, as in kind of like, you know how like if you have a little brother and like somebody at school or somebody at the bar calls your little brother a bitch, you're going to fuck him up, but you could call your brother a bitch all you want.
Right.
That's the Marine Corps. Like, hey, nobody messes from the outside. Nobody says shit to a fucking Marine. We're going to throw down. But if you're a Marine from like a different unit, like they're talking shit to each other all the time. But what I liked about it, man, was that, you know, we had to earn every inch, right? And that actually slowed me down from entrepreneurship. I didn't want to be called an entrepreneur, man. Like I did everything I've spoken about on this podcast already with the Marine Corps stuff and law enforcement and government work, and and then going to the fitness. Mm-hmm. I was number 2 in that company, and we were going on 14 stores when I left, and number 2, and hey, people were using that word entrepreneur, and I dodged it because I'm like, look, man, I don't sign my own checks right now. You know what I mean? And okay, cool, I've got entrepreneur tendencies, and like I remember the owner would say that to me and encourage me, like, hey man, I think you've got some entrepreneur tendencies. I'm like, man, I don't even like how that sounds. Like I think I just am who I am. But here's my thing with, college, no college, entrepreneur, go to college. I think you've just got to figure yourself the fuck out, because I definitely feel going inside of bigger entities, right? So working in something as large as in the Marine Corps, working for, the police department. And dude, there's politics and bureaucracy there just like anything else, man. There's drama there. And working for a different company, like, I learned a ton. Mm-hmm. So I knew who I was, and I knew my tools and how they would apply as an entrepreneur. I get super scared for youngsters if they're not naturally an entrepreneur, if they're forcing themselves that way because of a tide right now. It's like, look, dude, there's nothing wrong with getting a degree. There's nothing wrong with turning stones. You're fucking young, right? So there's like, yeah, if you're going to acquire student debt like this, and that's a whole nother ball game. But my big, and I can't dive into that. My school was paid for because, hoorah, fucking Marine Corps. But, my biggest thing is, listen, man, you got to do you. And I don't think if it's not natural, if you've got some other things you want to turn, there's nothing wrong with going other places and learning a bunch of shit in your life that brings experience to something. Kind of like being a parent at 34 versus being a parent at 20. No disrespect to anyone that's a parent at 20, but you're learning and leading at the same time. Versus when I had my son, and I'm 34 years old. And listen, man, I bring a whole different box of tools to that kiddo.
It's true.
Right? So it's the same thing for me with entrepreneurship. The way it worked out for me, and so, and being, 33, 32 and a half, 33 when we started this thing, I felt like I had a lot of experience to reflect on and think at night about how it applies to my new endeavor. If you're no endeavors, no experience, no nothing plus entrepreneurship, you're kind of learning and leading yourself.
So you got to get out there and do some shit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
For me, I think so.
Yeah.
For me, and this is my other thing. Look, dude, be true to yourself. Like, it's okay that I went to the Marine Corps. Have you entrepreneurs out there that think it's popular, but you also want to dive into the military? Dude, go jump out of fucking planes, do some cool shit. Like, you still have time to go be an entrepreneur. I think the biggest thing is that kids are scared of college because you can't, the debt. Respect. That's just part of life, man. Know your risk. Risk versus reward, right? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Right. But for me, it's like, look, that's my story. That's what worked for me. And I think as long as you're applying yourself and you're looking for the right avenues, it's going to pan out. So for me, I couldn't be more happy that I did everything prior to calling myself an entrepreneur now and signing the front of checks, right? I think everything prior to that was great, but like someone like you were entrepreneurial super young. Like you did some fitness stuff and you were a part of different companies, but I think you were like that natural entrepreneur that was learning and leading at the same time, which means you just got to be okay to fail, right?
Lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people are going to get scared. Versus me, I haven't had like a failing business. Knock on wood. That's not people at the front door. That's my fucking table right now. But I have gone through failures and other, through Marine Corps and through different things.
Right.
Like, yeah, man, I've dealt with adversity and failure and all kinds of shit on a different platform. Somewhat had to deal with that stuff from an entrepreneurial side and just failing some things. Yeah.
And it's been good because like you said, you didn't have a choice to do a lot of the shit that you did. With me, I did have a choice and I was willing to accept those fuck ups, and I knew that they were going to come, so that when they did come, I wasn't crippled by it. I wasn't debilitated. It was kind of like, and again, that comes back to me being bad at a lot of things prior. So it's like, okay, that didn't work. I won't do that again. Now I'm going to make this little adjustment and try this. And just listening to your gut too. Like, I do shit every day that I don't want to do. So it's not listen to your gut as far as I don't feel like doing this, but rather just that feeling that you have. Like for me, when I have a boss, like that just in my pit of my stomach just feels like shit.
Yeah, man.
I know that's not an option.
It's funny you say that, because now that I don't have one, I'm like, man.
Could you imagine going back and working for someone?
Look at Fat looking at us right now. What's up, bro?
What's up?
Are you looking at your bosses, or we're not your bosses, bro? You're a partner in all this.
You just said you were my boss.
No, I was being funny because I saw your fucking look on your face. I wish there was a camera. I wish we had this videoed because people see your fucking face right now.
Next time.
100%. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, man, thank God I was good at what I did, bro, because I'm not very easy. Listen, man, I'm kind of a cowboy. I'm a little rough around the edges. I'm kind of a cowboy, but dude, like I was high shooter out of the Marine Corps, any school, designated marksman school, I was always high shooter, man. Police officer stuff, I was high shooter. Like, that was my niche, dude. That's what I was possessive and obsessive about, man. I was fucking good at it. And there's a chip on your shoulder to be able to carry and bear the weight of that responsibility.
Too, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So, but here's the deal, man. That those kind of guys we're not always to deal with. We kind of know our shit, and sometimes we're politely kind of like you're a higher rank. Like, dude, we had a higher, and this isn't to diss on anybody, and I'm not naming anybody specific because that doesn't matter. There's shitbags everywhere, and I've had my days of being a shitbag. Not really, but no, I'm kidding. I have, but in the military, you have bosses per se, and those are people that are in the chain of command that are high rank. Listen, man, I've had guys that were higher rank at me at the time that felt like they had to put their thumb on me, and especially when I was a sergeant and you go to different units, there's gunnies there, and it's kind of like, hey man, like I know what the fuck I'm doing. And I've got some special skills, and that's cool. It has nothing to do with rank. But for some reason, you seem to think so. So you want to give me a hard time. And, dude, it was the biggest upset, and it was the biggest insecurity I've ever seen in my fucking life. So for me, I never want to be like that. We got people on our team in real estate, man, that are doing some incredible things or that have some incredible stories, man, super personal, incredible stories of adversity that I can't even imagine overcoming yet, in addition to that, being successful in real estate. And I fucking love that. And because I've felt some things before, prior to entrepreneurship, I never want to make someone feel like I always have to have that plus one. I always got to be like that one upper, or trying to find a way to like say something in relation to what you is, versus just going, wow, man, that's badass, So now that we're doing the entrepreneur, or I'm doing the entrepreneur thing, I want to do it right. And I want to make sure anybody with us on the team, they're entrepreneurs. They're 1099, man. They're doing their thing, but we're a team, and yep, you and I lead and own the team. But I don't want them to feel like we're owners, and I want them to feel that, because, dude, now looking back, I'm like,
we know how that feels.
Yeah, but thank God I was, dude. And sometimes higher ups kind of dealt with me, man, and maybe I wasn't there. Maybe I was right, or listen, I thought I was right, and then maybe just thank God I was proficient, because if I was an average dude and not proficient, they probably would have fucking booted me, bro. I think I was like worth the pain in the ass, kind of like Fat, funny. How he's looking at me, bro. Like,
he's like, yep. 100%.
Pat's like, yeah, dude, like I can feel it from him right now. Like, yeah, bro, you're a big pain in the ass, but your heart's in the right place, and it comes from the right place, and it doesn't come from a place of right or wrong. It comes from a place of like getting better. Let's get better together, and that we're all responsible. But man, I can't imagine now going back.
Well, that's the difference between a boss and a leader. Like, I feel like a boss is a non-leader put in a leadership position, and he's just not
management.
A leader. Right, management. Yeah,
no diss on any managers.
Right,
and this is
And not that you can't be a boss and a good leader.
Dude, you know, like my partner, and I'm not sure if we're gonna like, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about our families, our significant others. I'm not gonna name them and get into that. I haven't even spoken to her about that, and she's probably like, let's see how the first 20 episodes go before I start throwing names around. But they've created a position at work for her, man. I'm like, that's some entrepreneur shit right there. When you're in corporate America and they're creating new positions for you, just to keep you around and make sure you're proficient for their team and working for, like, that's cool stuff, man. But no, I think, you know, it's all in how you approach it, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, just how you approach people and how you approach your style of leadership. And yeah, I think, you know, we're missing that in corporate America. Now that I'm also exposed to that, even though we own our own shit, we're still exposed to corporate America. I think there's a huge gap between upper echelon leadership / ownership and your small unit leaders. And we think because people do a lot of deals or people seem confident that, oh, hey, put them in charge and put them in. And it's like, nah, man, like just because you do your own job doesn't mean that you're great. Like we talked about this before. And I said, Magic Johnson, incredible player. I think he lasted 6 months coaching the Lakers and they fucking canned him. And now he's in ownership, you know, where he can have more influence and it fits him better. And, you know, even guys that are great that like Magic Johnson, dude, that guy's, you know, accomplished so much, but then you even see that guy fail. And it's like, okay, well, is that a failure? Yeah, on the surface, but it's more so about just finding your place and where you're productive. And I think in corporate America, no disrespect to managers or anybody else that's not entrepreneurs, this is not an entrepreneurial, we're going to fucking be on our high horse all the time. It's just about leadership and influence and how much impact you have wherever you're at. And is that enough for you? And are you doing all you can? And if you're not, or if you wish you had more, I think you should go get more.
And where's it coming from too? Because if it's coming from a place to where you're just trying to climb the fucking ladder, prove somebody else wrong, prove that you're better than somebody, that's going to come off totally different than if you just genuinely want everyone to rise up alongside of you. And give everyone that boost up.
Yeah, not good.
Well, tying that back to day one, $0, I'm excited to get into more conversations about the military and entrepreneurship, dude, because like when you mentioned the Marines and just your old guns and shit and you guys just like, you know, kicking in your fucking doors and kicking ass. And I imagine it would be hard to, like, when that subsides, just to go into a management position or a desk position in the military and looking at entrepreneurship. You'll see true entrepreneurs time and time again. They'll build up a company, which is the hard part, right? They're kicking in the doors. They got their, you know, no money. They're using old equipment. They're getting it to a place to where it's sustainable and profitable, and then they're doing it again.
Well,
they're doing it again.
Yeah. So here's where the gap is. And first and foremost, let's not, you know, not everybody in the military is good to go.
Right.
Say right. Like
right. Just like entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and just like corporate America. Like, look, man, it's just people that aren't you know, putting their best foot forward, we'll say, in that and anything else. But here's the miss sometimes when it comes to, you know, like guys that operate at a high level that have you would think like, hey, those guys that are doing that in the military are like super entrepreneurial and can come out and run a company. And look at Jocko and David Goggins and a lot of guys, man, those are cliche names. I know they're super popular. And there's probably, you know, Brian Stan from the Marine Corps. There's some guys that are doing it. Here's the problem. Those guys go start their own shit, right? Because when you try to put an entrepreneur into someone else's like corporate setting, there's conflicts, man. They're just, they're too aggressive, or they're this, or they're that, or they're there and they're challenging the system, man, and they're trying to create change, and that's not necessarily what corporate models want. They want people that get along and play nice and do what the fuck you're told we've been doing for 30 years because it's how we run it. A lot now, some companies now are starting to shake some things up and understand that they've got to change between the upper echelon and the small unit leaders, and where does leadership, you know, come into play with all that. And, you know, is there a pipeline for veterans that are super, you know, proficient at that kind of stuff getting into companies? Absolutely. But it's few and far between, man. And guys that are super proficient, they're doing their own thing. We talk about this in real estate when you say, go find your 80%ers or your 90%ers. And this isn't how we operate. We want to have a bunch of killers on our team, and we want to make thinkers and things like that. But you've heard it from people in our industry, man, where they literally say they want sheep.
Yep.
Right? And they're like, you know, and we've been told that to ourselves. We're not going to name any names, but there's places out there, man, that just have you do a bunch of calls, and they're super excited to have sheep that, even though they're 1099, no, man, they're employees. They don't think for themselves. They don't act for themselves. They're there and they're sheep because they already have given up on the fact that, hey, anybody that's entrepreneurial, they're leaving. If they come here, it's for a short while and they're fucking out. They're going to learn what they can, and they're going to go create their own business.
Right.
So I think that's where the disconnect comes from when it's like, hey, all these guys in the military and the entrepreneur side and how that relates to corporate America is there's friction. Mm-hmm. There's just not an open door there. And even if there is an open door, those guys that are that proficient, just bad to the bone, they might just go do their own shit. And listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of momentum right now behind, building your own brand and doing your own thing, and people trust the integrity behind a person where, hey, if I don't like that guy, I can comment on his fucking Facebook right now and let people know he's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. How do you complain on Nike? How do you complain on Walmart? And even if you do, man, like they've conquered so much. Does anybody give a shit? No, man, I'm getting my Skittles there. They're 79 cents, bro. Right? I can get toilet paper, milk, chicken, and flip-flops for fat. And we're all good. And we're all good.
Chicken and flip flops.
Yeah, man, that was mean. I'm
Feathers
just trying to make
and
sure
all,
you're sleeping
dude.
back there.
That shit ain't even plucked yet.
But it's
how
true,
I
man.
like
Like,
it.
I know.
do people actually care, right? So when you're at that smaller level and you're building your own brand, I think people, understand that. Like, no, man, my reputation matters to me, and my service to you matters, and the internet. Dude, I don't know if we were babies when it was coming around or no, it wasn't around. Wasn't even around yet. Oh, we're fucking
Middle
old,
school,
bro.
dude.
Old,
Yeah.
84.
It was middle school for me.
Yeah, I think same here, man.
Pretty old.
Yeah.
Shut the
Pretty
fuck
old.
up.
Fat and I were looking at the
Oh,
Chinese
shit.
zodiac calendar. You're the
You're the rat.
You're the rat. Yeah.
Look at that up. That's badass.
You and I are compatible.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm the ox. He's the.
That makes me
he's-
wanna-
He's the dog. Tell him what you are.
Yeah, Fat, tell me what you are.
Head of a rooster, ass of a dog.
That's
No, ass. No, wait, no.
no,
dog.
dude. Year
Head
of the
a
whatever
dog,
is one animal.
Ass of a rooster.
Yeah. No, but he goes all Asian with it, and he's like in the middle
Oh.
somewhere. So he has like a whole.
Holy
other thing
shit!
about
You're
it.
like a centaur with feathers.
I'm a dog with a fat cock.
You're a dog, chicken, like centaur. What the fuck? We got to figure mine out. You should look that up. I'm October 4th, 1984. Look that up. See where we are. But no, man, I think there's a lot of momentum behind brands and personal brands and putting your word out there and trying to do a good job for people. So we're super encouraging of that. We definitely hire and brew a lot of thinkers, but that's kind of getting into our consulting firm that we're looking at with Working Like a Marine, is what we're calling it, right? Working Like a Marine. And it's trying to get into companies that are open to, everything that we have going on, right? And just how does small, leadership work? How do after action reports work? How do peer evaluations work? And where can we get super brilliant at the basics of fundamentals through the chain of command and making sure that small unit leaders are proficient, and that's something else that we're diving into. And I like that we have our own thing. Like I like that, we don't need anything from anyone. You and I do our own deals, and we happily love beating the shit out of our team every month. And they're getting close, dude. Some of them, there's some months where they might have more than us.
I want them to, man.
Well, I want them to too,
Yeah.
but I still don't want to take the L.
Right.
As much as I want them to beat us one day, I'm not ready for it. But
That's funny.
we still kick ass and we still have our backbone, right?
Right.
But when that time comes and as we grow, companies that are open to stuff, like now we can infiltrate and now we can go teach that leadership and some
Dude,
things.
and
So-
partnerships too. Like I think you and I
100%.
have learned a lot about partnership. I know we've both had previous experiences with different business partners.
Yeah.
I think we've learned a ton, dude, and I think we needed to go through those experiences so that we each knew, kind of what we were getting into with each other, and then how we can do things differently, how we can communicate better.
All of it.
Dude, I learned a ton of lessons.
All of it. Like my biggest thing is first things first is what you're doing working, right? Like that's my first piece. Like, hey, you're onto something that's working. Cool. Is it sustainable? As in, is it just a great market? Did you just have 3 or 4 friends happen to buy a house, for example, right? We're in real estate, so we can use that as an example. Whatever your career is that's your career, right? So, okay, you're onto something. You're having some traction, right? Cool. Step 1 is something working. Great. And then second thing is it sustainable? Do you have something that's working consistently, or were you getting lucky with some deals because family, friends?
And is it sustainable for you?
Well,
like the amount of
it
work
is
it
for-
requires.
Well, right. And that's what I mean by sustainable.
Yeah.
And then that third piece, man, that I think people need to learn is, can you duplicate it? Okay, so that's where we get into, if you have a business partner, are you able to articulate and are you able to have a role and be subject matter expert on whatever your tasks
And
are?
is it 2 of you, or is it you and all your
And your
unique
little
gifts,
pothead friend who's
and
super
then
smart
and
as
then
fuck,
somebody
right?
else and all their unique gifts?
Yeah, I
Because
can still hear you, fat, you little pothead.
You and I fit together like a fucking.
bet.
You and I fit together like a puzzle piece,
We
dude.
do.
Like the things I'm bad at, you're great at.
Yeah.
You're not bad at anything, but if you were bad at something,
I was fucking waiting
the thing-
for that.
I
No, I
thought-
appreciate that because I was literally thinking like, man, where was that? What-
See, I'm just trying to smash
No,
all
man,
your
I
like,
was-
jokes
I was-
before you get
It
there.
says y'all compatible for each other.
Yeah, I was wrong one time. I thought I was wrong, but I was actually right. Did I ever tell you that?
Yes.
So that third thing about, can you duplicate it? This is
Yeah.
also coming down to a big company with the chain of command and structure, or, you and I running a real estate team. Like, cool, man. Is whatever we're doing, yep, okay, we're onto something, we're successful. Hey, cool, okay, is it sustainable? Yep, you and I learned how to sustain ourselves and be
Right.
consistent. Cool. Is it something that you can make tangible that people
can
can learn
multiply,
from,
right.
that people can duplicate? So, for example, like let's say, let's use Michael Jordan again. And I'm not the biggest basketball expert, so anybody listening, I don't want to hear it. But let's say Michael Jordan's teaching basketball. I'm sure he can teach a ton. So I'm sure he's on to something. Was it sustainable? Yeah, he's in the league forever, right? And then that third thing is like, can you duplicate it? As long as Michael Jordan isn't saying like, yeah, hey, so here's how this works. You're going to go here and you're going to go there and, hey, read the defense, and then you're going to slide through here and jump over that guy and dunk the basketball. Okay, no. That like you can't duplicate that, jump man, because not everybody can fucking jump over people. So this is where your own intuition and your own skill level, you got to understand, like, you might have some of those abilities. Are you able to take those intuitions out, right, and still teach a model that can be duplicated? And are you a good enough leader to figure out what your subordinates, what are their intuitions? Because if, hey, maybe you're good at jumping over somebody and dunking the basketball, but then you got a guy that can shoot threes like crazy. So, and maybe he's got intuition for that. So as a leader, if you're going to duplicate your model, you do have to have you have to be fundamentally sound and understand that, on how this works and what's your machine. But then in addition to that, you've got to be able to make sure that you're duplicating that process and that you're teaching people to capitalize on their own intuitions. And you'd be stupid if you think that just because they don't have your intuitions doesn't mean that they don't have their own strengths.
Right.
And you got to find a way to teach people to lean toward their strengths and be confident with those intuitions, like mothers, man. Compassionate and caring. There's a lot of great things they can do, but if you're teaching them to be you, then you can't duplicate yourself. So that number 3, right? You're out. You're not. It's not going to work, man. It can't be you. Right?
Well, that takes time and patience, dude. And those two things, a lot of people are not willing to part with, man.
No, not at all. But I mean, I think so. Long story long, I guess, is what I always say. Like, this is a synopsis of the podcast, making fun of you guys with your marijuana and
I know smoke a weed.
ecstasy. Oh, we did that.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. No, we didn't do that. But that's
that?
Ex-girlfriends.
It's a song, I know.
It's some bullshit. Yeah, man. But just, I'm sure we'll get into that one day and just talk about life experiences and having fun with
Right.
it on a productive level, man. But that's a synopsis. But I think, one more thing we should mention prior to moving forward is just, so what do we have? So everybody knows now, if you're still listening, right? God bless you. What's coming next, right? So, hey, day $1.0, and we want to teach people from the ground up how to do it, and not necessarily teach someone anything, but just empower them, right? Listen to the podcast and listen to us go over different topics of discussion, and listen to some of our guests, when we have them on. Like, I think we're going to be a hybrid, man, of like Joe Rogan has someone on all the time, which is phenomenal. And, I think you and I can speak a lot to ourselves. And look, we're not Joe Rogan, man. We're ground up, right? And I think there's a lot we can do for ourselves of just having our own podcast. But I think every once in a while, having a guest, a quality guest that can definitely speak to some things, I think that's important. And so I think our biggest thing is just empowering people, man, of like, here's some topics of discussion that we're going to go over as far as the ground up, what we think is working and not working for us and how that's worked. And then all the stories and the fun, the camaraderie in between, and then having guests kind of speak to the same thing about their day $1.0 and then their stories and everything in between, but now that they have a grasp on that, I think, we can kind of touch on what's to come, right? So we're on audio today. This is our first episode, audio.
We'll be ready to stream by next week.
Allegedly.
Yeah, thank you for throwing that in there.
Yeah, no, you're welcome, because we were talking about this today, man. I think marijuana pace is just not the same pace, man. I feel God damn it. How many minutes are we in? He finally cussed.
I've been cussing this whole time, man.
53?
No, I've been cussing this whole
53.
time.
Well, you said you finally cussed at me. That's not very
yeah.
polite.
Yeah.
Cussing at me.
Yeah. So Will is going to go ahead and figure out the whole streaming side of things at his Will pace. And if he gets it figured out, then hopefully...
Why the fuck would I do? No,
hopefully we'll
man.
have
So
this all
here's
figured
my...
out by
So
next
I
week.
have my lanes and you have your lanes. All I'm saying is I felt like I worked at a faster pace in my lanes than you do. And you're like, well, hey, dude, you don't have to order shit. I'm like, no, you're right, but you can order shit from your fucking couch.
Yeah, which is what I do, researching
While you're
4
smoking
fucking
weed.
hours a night.
4 hours?
Dude,
Is it hard?
it's hard.
Well, here's my deal. I don't know. I'm going to take your word on it. That's
We're
true.
in different lanes. We're in different lanes.
We're in different lanes. But,
Yeah.
so we're going to have this video and we're going to live stream on YouTube.
And Facebook.
We are going to live stream on Facebook. But it just
on
won't.
the Day One $0 page.
What about my page being converted?
Sure.
Now that it will be converted, is that
We'll have a Day One $0
we'll have to
on
chat.
too.
We'll have that, so we're going to live stream and have the video going. And
Yeah, YouTube at a minimum.
yeah. And I think, for anyone that's tuning in, we appreciate you, man. Like, even if it's just one person that we can help, and just get to grasp some concepts and at least have someone to reflect on. I know I have some folks that are in my life as mentors that have helped me a ton, man. But I still watch Gary V's and other guys. I still listen to their stuff, and it's funny because I'll listen to maybe a 2-hour thing that Gary V has going on, but an hour and 16 minutes in, someone asks a question that's a little bit more relatable to me than the rest of the shit he's been saying.
Right.
And that's the one thing I'm going to take away from that 2 hours. So it's really hard to take like a Gary V's free content, right? Like it's there, but I think you got to dive in and be committed to it and listen to a lot of it before you can apply it. So for us, man, if we can somehow do the same thing and just empower people and just try to have the influence of, just getting out there and doing your thing and being the best that you can be. And then also having like an honest reflection of guys that still fucking make mistakes and are fucking shit up and kind of doing their thing and still at it. I think there's some refreshment to that.
And that's why I like the long form podcast, man, because like you said, an hour and 15 minutes here, the one thing that actually clicks with you, and in our 10-minute videos, people may not get that one thing.
Well, and they're somewhat real estate specific, or we
Right.
have to cliff note it
Right.
because it's like, all right, what are we talking about today, and what's this main point that we want to get, and those are fun, man. I like those too, and I hope that those are funnels for more. I like for Gary V, for example, like, when I first saw him, yeah, man, it was like his 5 and 7 minute videos. It wasn't his 2 hour long video, but I think all of us that like Gary V had like a 2-day or 3-day binge,
Right.
where we were watching his shit like we were watching Narcos on fucking Netflix, right? Just binging it.
yeah.
And now it's like sporadic when I need it and things like that. But yeah, man, I hope there's some refreshing pieces that we can give. And I also hope too, man, like my biggest thing and why I want to document right away when most people don't is it's almost unrelatable. And I've said this before, as much as like I love the Grant Cardones and the Gary V's and the CEO motherfucker, what's that guy's name? Andy Frisella?
Yeah,
man, those are some bad dudes. Ed Milet's, they're cool motherfuckers, man. I've never met
They're
them.
on a different level.
Well, and here's the thing is like you love watching these old, like
Yeah.
fucking Milet. This dude's old as shit, but he's jacked. He wears his fucking flat bill.
Yeah.
If you saw that guy in a restaurant, you'd be like, you fucking Ed Hardy looking
Yeah.
motherfucker, and he rolls off in his helicopter. And you're like, oh, who's that guy?
Respect.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah.
So I think it's fun to like almost fantasize, dude. I think it's almost nostalgic or just fantasized. Because it's like it's unrelated. Like you love hearing about it, but it's kind of like combat, right? Like I've spoken about this before with other people, and like why it shouldn't always be about that, and how it becomes nostalgic and unrelatable to how people can like, yeah, you love listening to it, but you can't necessarily take anything from it and apply it as directly as something else, right? And that's obviously open for debate, man. I'm not gonna say anybody's doing anything wrong, and Jocko and all those guys out there kicking ass, man. Like it's working for them. So just maybe not my style, but I think it's hard to reach. So for us doing this, we've hit some accolades and we've had some success. And I think that's first and foremost, you got to hit some accolades and be successful if you're going to open your mouth.
Proof of concept.
A little bit, right? And, we've been documenting everything we've done. This is a little bit further. This is a podcast is a step further when it's like, hey, we'd enjoy, we think it's valuable to listen to us. That's a step further versus just documenting. Now you're
and
you want people
it's
to
listening to
listen.
the market too, because we're at the point now where people are like, hey, where can I watch more of your stuff? Hey, I want to hear more.
Well, there's demand.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, not a Joe Rogan bit, but a little bit. But I also like it because I do feel, man, like even if it's 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, I think we're a little bit more relatable because we're still someone. And I know, I hate I'm not bad talking these guys, but the Gary V's on my list, I know they're saying they're still on their way up. Like, I still
But
haven't accomplished
we
that.
all know.
But I think that's like the fuckery of the mind. Like, I got to wake up and like trick
That's the
myself.
bodybuilder saying he's fat, and you're
Yeah,
like, all right,
dude.
dude, like,
Yeah, like I swear these guys wake up in the morning like they got to slam their dick in the door.
Yeah.
Right? And get themselves going and convince themselves that they haven't made it. There's more to do. And I can't speak to them. Maybe there is. Maybe they do think they can influence
and
more
honestly,
people.
bro, we're gonna be the same way when we're there.
Probably.
We are.
Right? But I think you're going to be Jimmy Buffett high as fuck. Fins to the left. You heard the song. I'll play it later. But, you know, I do think there is some just grit and honesty and sense of relief for people if they are listening to us. Like, man, I know that fucking guy. He's from the gym.
Yep.
Hey, I know that guy from this or from that, and we haven't, you know, at least for society's terms, right? Because let's talk about that. Ed Milet's and those guys. Look, per society, you motherfuckers made it. We see your boat, motherfucker, you made it. So maybe not in their eyes, fine, but I think it's fun that, you know, in society's eyes per se, you and I in fact haven't quote unquote made it. We're on our way up and we're on the grind, and I think there's some intimacy there, and I think there's some honesty there that people want to grab onto that can maybe be their encouragement to get there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think so.
Well, dude, and like just sitting here and be able to hear your thoughts, and when we have guests come on, you know, hear their background and their story, I think it's going to be really good for both of us to help keep us in that day one $0 mindset when we're kind of back in the learning seat, and actually have to get to sit and listen to you in a long form.
You hear how he fucking laughs? I like how he laughs, like smart ass as fuck, and then just keeps talking like I'm not going to address what he just said. Right? Like we're just going to keep rolling, like he didn't make fun, and like it's hard to hear me.
But it keeps us in that learning mindset, man, which we always should be.
Is that why you bring your weed so you can hear me? No, I get it, man. No, I think so, and I think this too. This is going to sound cocky as fuck, and it's not. I think the more successful you get, or more wise you get in life, the harder it is to find people to learn from.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect, man. But there are people that are, you know, that are from your life. And yeah, man, like, hey, be humble. Remember, if you like, I come from a not so good neighborhood and I had loving parents, but, you know, we didn't have as much money as some others. And that's all good, man. I'm not even going to dive into that. I'm in a great place. But, you know, the more successful and the more out of the hood, per se, or even if you're not from the hood, you just, the reality is most people don't venture out and do a lot of stuff. So it's not that people are stupid or people, oh, you're too good for them. No, it's that the scope of what you're trying to accomplish is so different than everyone, man. It's hard. Like, even if I've got friends that are successful, man, that are making $200, $300, $400 a year, and they've got some great job. Cool, man. But here's my deal. It's just not in my lane, right? No. It's not what I do. And it's not that you don't have something that's, you know, valuable maybe. Like, yep. But the problem is, you don't have the context that I do, and you're not able to really speak in, you know, to what I'm doing. So I think for our endeavors and for guys like us, man, it's so hard to find that and to find people to get around where you actually feel like on a consistent basis you can take something from it. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just so good why people need to be sharing their stories and documenting what they're doing. And to your point, like, that's why we do need the Grant Cardones and the, you know, Gary Vee's and all those people at that level, because like you said, as you progress, it is harder and harder to find people that you look up to and admire.
I'm going to pay Grant Cardone. You know how they do that? What's that website?
Like Patreon or something.
Yeah. Hey, I woke up this morning, my good friend.
Whatever.
Cameo. What the fuck is that? I'm going to hire Grant Cardone and be like, hey, day $1 some bad motherfuckers, you heard? I'm gonna hire him to say some dumb shit versus trying to fool people that he's my fucking friend. I can't stand that, dude. That's a whole nother day about being romantic and making people assume that like you fucking know someone you don't, and like, yeah, you know, my good friend so and so wants me to speak to his kids and tell him the importance of real estate. Like, listen, dude, that fucking guy doesn't even think you should own your own home. And I'm not saying he's wrong. He's rich as fuck, and he thinks you should invest in properties that make you money and certain things, and he's got his model, just like us, man. We have our model, right? So, but god damn it, that pisses me off, dude. That could be, I could sit here for another hour and I could talk about it. So I almost want to like do it just for fun.
For those of you guys that don't know what we're talking about, so Cameo is this website where you can pay $5, $200. It ranges.
Who the fuck is $5?
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
But you pay, there's all these celebrities on there, or celebrities.
A-list, B-list.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was looking for. And they'll give you a 60-second selfie video that you can post on your, like, you sing your fucking grandma
Dude.
happy birthday from Mr. T or something.
And that's cool though. Okay,
Yeah,
so
or
if
your
you wanna
business or
Dude,
whatever.
Imagine like technology, right? So imagine like if my mom, so my mom's a big Neil Diamond fan. I think he's,
Shit. If he could sing her happy
dude, I
birthday,
think
bro.
he's still alive, right? Like the fuck
think
me
he
if
is,
he,
yeah.
yeah, I think he is. That's fucked up. I shouldn't even be saying that, but if I had Neil Diamond, get on there and go, Lisa, your son wanted me to reach out and tell you happy birthday, and let's have some red wine, by the way, and fuck you be 40. That's my song.
Dude, that'd be
right?
great.
It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
When people use that in sales to give the assumption that that person knows that person, that's fucked.
Yeah.
I can't fucking stand it. And here's my thing. First of all, if I know about Cameo and if I know it's bullshit, dude, I don't go looking for. If I know, motherfucker, people know. So I think if you're using it to be funny and you're not using it to be deceitful, I think it's awesome, bro. I would love to have Flavor Flav or like Frankie J Brandon on our team. Have Frankie J sing happy birthday to Brandon, right? Be fucking hilarious.
Shit,
but
right.
I don't think when we use it to be deceitful, I don't think it's appropriate. And here's what's even worse, dude. I don't even think you need it. It's like a rich kid stealing a pack of gum and gets caught. You're like, hey, dude.
Great analogy.
Like, I get it. Like, you want the thrill, but look, man, you don't even have to steal. Like, your parents are loaded. Pull some money out of your pocket and don't try to be something you're not. Just buy the fucking gum. Same thing. Like, hey, man, you're actually a good dude all on your own. Like, that video actually just made me think less of you, man. Like, not that what I think of you fucking matters. It doesn't matter, right? But I think a lot of people kind of get that perception of like, hey, man, like, you don't have to be romantic and have people fucking sign off on you. And if you're doing that, you have no idea if your fan base, like, for example, what if my fan base doesn't like the person that's vouching for me? That's
Right.
a fucking
Right.
problem. And if, like, fuck, dude. I don't know. I mean,
people are smarter than you think too, dude. And I think business owners are looking at that and they're like, oh yeah, people will think that Grant Cardone endorses my company, dude. Probably not.
He endorses-
You'll fool some people.
I wish
man,
Grant
but-
Cardone would get on and be like, hey, listen, motherfuckers, I'm in an elevator for about 30 seconds and I'm going to make $250 right quick.
Right.
Holler at your boy, Uncle G.
Yes.
Hilarious. I literally want to pay him to say that so I can fucking, hey, Will told all you guys start being mark-ass bitches.
Dude, what
Stop
the
having
fuck?
me do this shit.
What's Grant Cardone gonna do at $250? I'm so curious about that. When I saw his name on Cameo, I was like, yeah, he's doing it for attention and reach and just to get his face
There you go.
everywhere.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm like, what the?
It's
You
not
ain't
for
gonna
the-
do shit with
Listen, man, a guy,
$250.
even guys at our level, we're questioning like how much is our time worth, right? And like,
Yeah. That's
what
true.
we would do for $250. And I think one, it's because he wants the exposure everywhere. And I think, secondly, I think he still has some grinder in him. And when these guys that are like, same reason why Gary Vee goes and does garage sales.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, that's my blood, that's my backbone, that's my
the
grind.
Marine shit right there. I'm talking about. That's
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
so that's where he
dude.
goes and
There's-
sharpens his fucking
Right,
knives. Like,
right.
even though he's a bigger deal now, he knows, like, hey, that's where I sharpen my knives. That's where my hustle started. That keeps me sharp. I think it's the same thing for Grant Cardone, dude. It's like, all the sand is in the fucking jar. What can you do? Well, pour some water in it, right? You can still fill that jar up, even though you don't think so. And
That's where it comes. I think that's the DNA shit right
obsessive,
there.
compulsive DNA.
That's the
fucking
DNA shit
weird
right
boy
there.
shit.
Like, I don't even think it's anything intentional. They just can't help it but to stay in the grind and,
I think
and
so.
do that shit.
What's
you
your
know.
grind?
This.
Speaking of grind,
Yeah.
this is my grind. What about you, Fat? We haven't heard from you much today, and I know you're not going to speak much. You're like you're the support structure. You're the guy back there making logos and doing awesome video. But Eli and I have talked about we're just going to force you to do more shit.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
video.
another podcast, yo.
Oh, you can't. Oh, you can't talk about it right now.
No, not right now.
He's like, I'm literally doing my grind right now. I'm
It's
It's gonna
fucking
be
busy.
a whole hour podcast on fat.
Yeah.
Bro, he's so up, but he like you gotta wine me and dine me.
You will have to be a guest sometime, man.
Oh Jesus!
I will.
Yeah.
Who the
Once-
fuck's gonna run this thing?
That'll be
You?
good.
No.
We'll make it work.
I'll hire another Asian dude.
Yeah.
Why is he gonna be Asian?
Dude,
It's that trust thing.
It'll be like a sushi bar back there. It'll be like 3 Japanese guys, like each running like a different station.
Fuck that. I'll be eating the sushi then.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
We'll have sushi here.
So I guess moving forward, before we end this thing, is just given that foresight. I almost said foreskin. Weird. That last closing
It's on the mind.
off the market.
Another story.
On the mind,
Yeah.
off the market. No, just a foresight for folks, and so yeah, we're gonna go live and do some things on Facebook and do some things on YouTube, and now that we're prepared and we've got this thing built out, we've got some cool equipment, and we're in a good place where we can be consistent and be ourselves, and talk about real estate. But just it's bigger than that, right? But just being consistent with it. So if you guys have, if you're watching this, if you're still watching it, like comment below, wherever you're watching this. And if you got questions that you want us to speak on, like throw it out there.
For sure.
And if you think there's some cool folks out there that are just doing their thing, that are substantial and they've proven themselves as far as their model and how much of an impact that they have, and you think they might be an interesting person, and we're not talking just fucking famous people. Like, that shit's cool. Don't get me wrong, man. There's some substantial people there that are known and, that are just doing it right that I love. But, especially being local in Denver, and we want to expand over time. But if you guys have someone out there that's just doing it right, boy, I'd just love to get to know more people like myself that are in the local market. If they're out of state, that's cool too. We're gonna fly your ass in, and by fly your ass in, I mean you're gonna buy a ticket, fly your ass in, and you can sleep in my fucking house and have some exposure on the podcast, because we're not buying tickets for people to come in quite yet, unless you're Joe Rogan, I guess. But then it wouldn't matter at that point. He's pretty rich, but. Just people that are local, that are doing it right, that maybe aren't necessarily too known, that could benefit from being on a podcast like this and just coming out and having some impact. Or maybe they haven't even considered themselves something, but you see something in them and you think it'd be good. We'd love to hear more about that and hear more about people. We could put on this map and
for sure
have some fun with it.
Yep. Cool.
Do we have an outro?
Yeah,
we do.
But this one's for your mom, Will.
Oh shit! Don't tell her that.
Oh, is it not playing?
Well, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna sit until it plays. It's not playing.
It's not playing.
Well, make sure it plays.
Well.
You already said it, dude. My mom's fucking listening.
Yeah, we got to
now.
play it now, bro.
Oh,
Jesus. Oh shit, guys, we appreciate you listening, and if you're still out there, if you're still listening, respect. We really appreciate everyone's support, and especially from day one to now, just the small step we've taken to being where we're at. We appreciate all the love that we've gotten from you guys. We appreciate everything to come. And Mom, if you're listening, and Neil Diamond's still alive, maybe we'll get him out here.
That's day $1.0.
day $1.0.
Episode 1.
We'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Out.